So security is one thing, legacy systems are another, especially in banking, fintech, legacy industries, right, so to speak, that have been around for, a couple of decades, still rely on these older systems with unique testing needs. And cloud-based testing tools might struggle to support some of that legacy tech. Now, mainframes are still a tricky one. SmartBear, for example, Ready API, the tool that we're talking about, um, doesn't have like native mainframe support. So even we struggle with mainframe testing sometimes. It's another one of our solutions has some mainframe support. But we ourselves have experienced the challenges with integrating with mainframes. Databases we do better on. We have a pretty wide range of databases that we support. You can test your databases um, and historical data. But as we'll see a little bit later on, Ready API is very good at simplifying the creation of like a test case or a test suite that combines multiple, um, combines multiple, they could be endpoints or they could be multiple points in this legacy system flow. If they're on premises, they could be on-prem APIs, on-prem applications that expose APIs. Pretty much if it's possible to interact with your system via HTTP, we can test it. And sometimes cloud-based testing tools might struggle to support that. A lot of the time, your big players in SaaS testing tools aren't necessarily like they're not too interested in testing legacy services, and even that's true of ourselves. Like Ready API supports SOAP testing, for example, like XML, a kind of legacy API type of protocol. Um, we have some SaaS testing offerings that don't support SOAP, and we have a SaaS API design tools that don't really support SOAP. So even we kind of had to make that distinction between our on-prem solutions and our SaaS solutions about what API protocols are we going to support. And usually with SaaS, we're going to prioritize the more you know, modern, so to speak, protocols like REST, async, things like that. SOAP, primarily supported with our on-prem solutions. So, so interestingly, it seems like this slide is probably not going to be that interesting to anyone on the call because I don't think, if not interesting, but I didn't see anyone respond to the poll with the fact that like compliance with regulations were a high priority for API testing. Now, on a macro scale, 68% of enterprises did cite data sovereignty as a key reason for avoiding cloud-based testing. And I suppose that's not necessarily just to do with regulations. It's more to do with having the data on their own servers and, on their own, kind of on their own premises. But that crosses over into regulations and governance where, you might be subjected to a standard or a governing body that wants you to keep all of your data, in a particular geolocation, or there's kind of requirements for the servers or the data centers where that data is stored. So a priority for some, perhaps not for everyone with us today, but at a larger scale, compliance is a big factor for going with a tool that has more support for those legacy type systems and on-prem data. Then there's a more practical question of not having to rely on too many factors outside of your control in terms of the performance of your tests. Now, performance did come up in the poll there. I saw a couple of people responded and said that the performance of their test was more of a concern or priority. I'd be interested to know if we're talking about performance testing generally and the performance of your applications, or more specifically, like the performance of your tests as you're running them. Like, do your functional tests take too long to execute, or execution times for CI/CD pipelines and things like that. So generally, on-prem API testing will deliver more predictable performance because you are working within your own network and you're not relying on external networks, right? So you're not going to be worried about downtime from cloud providers. And in 2023, according to Gartner, 40% of enterprises suffered delays from cloud testing failures. So this could have been like the cloud provider that your SaaS testing tool uses might have suffered an outage or a delay, and then the end result of that is that your testing takes longer than it should. So don't have as much of a risk of that when you're dealing with a tool that's entirely on your own network.